The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para-X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
Well, hello there, my spooky friends. It's been a wonderful Halloween 2018, an exhausting Halloween. We did so much. We were out in the field, we were out at Fort Mifflin, we were playing Ravenloft Dungeons & Dragons, I was making lots of sangria, we were talking to cooks and film directors and paranormal investigators and authors. It was intense. And now I bring you to episode 102. Now this is titled, Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. This is horror author T. Fox Dunham doing a little introduction here. Tonight we have some great content, including Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. It's an encore of the Fluffy and Pete Halloween special that we did for the Halloween special, episode 101, The Science of Monsters, and it's our new zombie horror audio comedy with the voice talents of me, T. Fox Dunham, Martin Garrett, David Walton, Phil Thomas, and many others as Fluffy and Pete, two lovable losers who are buddies to the end, survive the end of the world in, you guessed it, a zombie apocalypse, and all the wacky, zany things that can happen. And we'll be playing that encore tonight in the middle of the episode. It's a great episode of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show, called Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. We have a ghost story that I didn't realize I still had from paranormal author Kerri Thomas from The Cranky Hag, and it's called Dreams. And often in these ghost stories, we hear stories of relatives coming back from beyond the grave to pass some sort of message or inspiration onto their loved ones in life. And this is such a story that she wrote for her website, The Cranky Hag, which she was gracious enough to send to What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show. Thank you so much, Kerri. Also, we have a wonderful interview with just an inspiring person, Kristen Gorlitz. Kristen has done a new comic book series called The Empties, and it's just incredible. And we talked to her about her life, her work, her inspirations, and what she's learned as an author and also a producer growing in this industry, and what you have to do to really be successful and really get there. When you want to turn your dreams into something more than dreams, you want to make them into your reality and actually get there and live the life of an author, which is not always fun, but you need faith and dedication, you can get there. And we talked to Kristen Gorlitz, well I did, a little while ago about The Empties. We're going to play that interview tonight, and it's a zombie crazy show. We love doing zombie shows. We don't do enough of them. We're mostly ghosts and horror. And, just to let a lot of our listeners know, we're a horror variety show. We're like a horror magazine. We feature authors, we feature ghost hunters, we feature paranormal stories, investigations, we feature fiction, we feature music, and just anything that's spooky or darkness. Like, we'll be doing a bunch of noir stuff coming up in the next few months, a little noir corner here, or shall we say, side alley. And we got a great excerpt from a novel by Kody Boye called First Light. He was giving away copies of this around Halloween, and it's read by David Walton. It's just wonderful, and we're going to close the show with First Light later on. But let me play this ghost story from Kerri Thomas called Dreams, and we'll be right back on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on ParaX Radio at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Friday nights on ParaX Radio, and also available on all major podcast services like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and a whole bunch of others I've kind of forgotten about. And you can find our website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com. So, this is Dreams by Kerri Thomas.
What are you afraid of?
I'm Tim Wagner, Bram Stoker award-winning author.
Hashtag Grave Girls.
This is Katrina Weidman of Destination America's Paranormal Lockdown.
This is Jim Chambers. I'm the author of The Engines of Sacrifice.
This is Jasper Barr, award-winning author of The Final Cut.
And you're listening to What Are You Afraid Of?
What Are You Afraid Of?
To What Are You Afraid Of?
What are you afraid of?
Love it. Fantoxic, please. Fantoxic.
Dreams. Written by Kerri Thomas, author of The Haunting of a Family. From her website, crankyhag.com. Read by David Walton. When I was a young girl, my mother gifted me with a little rubber Kody doll, the brand name of the doll. It really wasn't a doll I would play with, as it didn't have the same attractive features as Betsy Wetsy. Even my Barbie collection had tons of clothes and a car. This doll had nothing. Still, I accepted it graciously. My mother, sensing my confusion at the gift, explained, "I want you to give that to your little girl when you grow up and have babies." It was the last gift she ever gave me before she became too sick to live at home anymore. However, I kept the doll with me, always. Years later, when I did become pregnant, I remembered the doll. My mother had passed away when I was only 5 months pregnant, and it was my first baby. Although we didn't have the diagnostic testing we have today that gives away the gender of the child, I still knew I was having a little girl. I had just seen the doll in the spare bedroom only a few days earlier. She was in a big moving box. I went into the room that would become my nursery and pulled everything out of the closet, including the box wherein I had seen the doll. It was the only box in there. When I couldn't find it the first 2 tries, I methodically took one piece out of the box at a time, as I continued to search. Then I put everything back into the box, one piece at a time, in case I missed it, pulling it out of the box for the 3rd time. Still nothing. That night, I had a very vivid dream. I was strolling through a graveyard like I was taking a Sunday night walk in a park. I saw someone whom I didn't know motion for me to come over to the funeral that was taking place. As I neared the gravesite, I recognized my siblings. Everyone was just standing around looking down into a very large hole. It turned out to be a grave that was about 20 feet deep, much deeper than it needed to be. In the middle of the deep grave stood my mother, wearing a black dress, and she was talking to my brother, Carl. In life, my mother had her leg amputated, but in the dream she had both legs. To the left of her was a ladder. I instinctively knew Carl had carried my mother down the ladder. As my brother turned and began to climb the ladder out of the grave, I started to yell because he was leaving our mother behind. I looked up to my other brothers and sisters, but they were just standing there, letting this happen. When I moved to go towards the ladder, my mother looked up at me and instructed kindly, "It's all right, Michelle. Stop crying and don't forget about this." Her arm swung up towards me, and what she tossed landed at my feet. It was the Kody doll that she had given me so many years earlier. the same one I had spent hours searching for the day before. The following morning after the dream, I jumped up out of bed. I determined to find that doll. If I had to completely dismantle my nursery and rebuild it, I would. I decided to begin with the moving box once more. I opened the closet door and pulled it out. As I unfolded the box top, the QP doll smiled up at me. This is a true story, and it was creepy. If you enjoyed this ghost story, please check out the author's book on Amazon.com, The Haunting of a Family by Kerri Thomas, and her website, www.thecrankyhag.com, for more of her stories.
Number 12 on BeatSpot's Top 30 Horror Podcast.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head, the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
Explore the darkness.
Find out what goes bump in the night. Did you hear that?
Did you see that? What's that bright light in the sky? Oh, we so need to investigate.
Calling all witches and sensitives.
Explore the paranormal.
With hosts
Shauna
and Vicky
from Geeks Paranormal.
Wednesdays
at 9 Eastern,
8 Central.
Let's explore. On paraxradio.com.
Just a wonderful ghost story from Kerri Thomas. Thank you so much, Dreams. This is T. Fox Dunham back of What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio, Friday nights at 9 o'clock on Eastern Standard Time, and also on all major podcast services. And find out more information about the show and us at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. So, we are going to play the encore of the first episode of Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse from the writing talents of T. Fox Dunham, Michael Martin Garrett, and the voices are the same, plus David Walton, our wonderful British folk singer. And please enjoy, and after that we'll have our interview from Kristen Gorlitz, and then our wonderful little zombie excerpt from Kody Boye's first line. So this is Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse.
Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. A radio play. Episode 1. Halloween in Zombieland. Hello there. My name is David Walton, and I welcome you to the first episode of What Are You Afraid Of's new audio series, Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse, written by T. Fox Dunham and Michael Garrett. During these episodes you will hear the stories of two best friends living in a world where the reanimated dead dominate the planet. Who am I in this story? Well, you can call me Supreme, Jehovah, the Big G, or the bum who lives in their basement and only comes up to teach the lads. When I'm not making sure the planets spin on or sharing wisdom with Fluffy and Pete, I dwell in their basement and compose folk songs. This has always been my dream. So, let's begin this story of friendship between the two lovable idiots who never should have survived a zombie epidemic. Fluffy and Pete survive the zombie apocalypse. Just a warning, since the show is free, refunds will only be granted in the most extreme cases and may be paid in munchies, zombie parts, or silly crayon doodles on stained napkins drawn by Pete. For those of you who are easily frustrated by stupidity and dumb luck, this show may cause high blood pressure, rapid heartbeat, and the clenching of fists, yelling in rage, and much gnashing at teeth. The staff at What Are You Afraid Of's Horror and Paranormal Show is not responsible for damage done to your phone, computer, or whatever device you're using to listen to the show. As T. Fox Dunham often comments, I would rather be lucky than smart. No zombies were harmed in the recording of this show. Plenty of authors were harmed, but they're used to it. Any similarities to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. This is a work of fiction, so please don't try any of this at home. Mimicking their actions probably won't get you hurt, but it will make you look dumb. We take you now to their Levittown rancher outside of Philadelphia. It's Fluffy's turn to check the various traps that keep the undead out, and Pete's turn to make breakfast. Morning has come at the end of the world in this devastated suburb, though if you've lived in Levittown, Pennsylvania, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Dead and rusting cars fill the highways. There is no longer any power or running water. The walking dead slowly roam the streets. These undead souls, once thriving, living and apathetic beings, search for the next meal of warm human flesh. And now, Fluffy and Pete survive the zombie apocalypse. A zombie apocalypse is a terrible fate, unless you're surviving it with your bestest mate. Even though corpses try to eat your thighs, at least you and your body can still get high. Fluffy and Pete survive the zombie apocalypse. Fluffy and Pete. Pete misses Halloween. On a beautiful October morning after the end of the world, well, it could be October. It's colder. The leaves are falling, but the lads haven't bothered keeping track of the days. What's the point? Online games no longer have a monthly fee. There's no electric bill, and you don't have to search the couch for change to hit the 7-Eleven for munchies anymore. What's the point of keeping track of what month it is? Anyway, on a beautiful autumn morning after the world ended, Fluffy went about his usual morning routine, collecting rainwater that had fallen in the night into the kiddie pool and resetting the various traps outside the makeshift wall of their Levittown rancher.
Okay. Reload the ballista. Done. Check the spikes in the pits. Check. Oh, St. Celia, nailed one with Mr. Smiley Clown.
Fluffy carefully approached the fallen clown statue, He purloined from Smiley Clown Burgers, making sure the trap had sufficiently crushed the brain of the Zombo. He hated Zombos. They really bummed him out, especially when they tried to eat you and crap.
I hate Zombos.
See, he does.
Especially when they try and eat me and crap. Okay, just have to put the statue back up on the spring trap. There we go. Should I clean this mess up? Nah. Pete, get your butt out here. Clean up on aisle hell.
What the hell, Fluffy? A downer better be eating you. I was having me a tinkle. Oh, I hate downers. They really bum me out.
Fluffy paused to wipe the rancid guts off his torn leather vest, then checked his wound-up pocket watch. He wore several pins with messages of revolution such as, "The state's not gonna smash itself," and, "At least zombies eat the rich." Pimples dotted his face, and he tried not to vomit from the sweet, salty stench of decay. The sunlight stung his bloodshot eyes, and he longed for a fresh cappuccino with no whip, an extra shot of espresso, and vanilla flavouring in a politically friendly paper cup.
Just come clean this guy up. Well, guy, I don't know, maybe he could have been a lady? Can't really tell. Or maybe he wasn't trying to fit in with any narrow understanding of gender presentation. Point is, I just want everyone to know that I have no prejudice against zombies of any gender. I hate all zombies equally much.
Who are you talking to, man? It's just us and the Zimbibibos.
There's always someone judging. You know, I just don't want to be attacked on Twitter.
It is gone, dude. We got no juice or PlayStations, and no one cares about that crap anymore.
You know, people make that mistake all the time. Anyway, just clean this crap up. I'm gonna go wipe down Mr. Smiley Clown.
I hate that thing. Do you have to set it up so it's like watching me at night through my bedroom window?
Why, yes. Yes, I do.
Oh, and I should go in and get a shovel. We could save this dude for fertilizer. It'll be time to harvest soon.
Yes. Yes, go and fetch your shovel, my friend. Fetch it well. And while you are gone, I shall reset all the traps and destroy all our enemies. For soon my plans will be complete, and I shall dominate this world. All we will read shall be taboo, and all we shall watch will be foreign art house cinema. Under my rule, social injustice will be eliminated. All will follow my philosophy, or they shall pay for their fascist ways. For in this dead world I will rise and take my rightful place.
Fluffy? I am still here.
Oh, hey Pete, I wasn't saying anything.
Yes, you were. You were doing that thing when you sound like all crazy, all crazy-ass dictator dude, when you think I'm not around.
Well, then why are you still around? Why don't you have the shovel?
Guess I'm just feeling low. Swing low, sweet chariot. You know, like, that pretty low I had to sing there, but it's gonna be my first year missing Halloween. We got no costumes, we got no candy, and no spooky house to go see.
You know, Pete, that there are actual, literal zombies, right? What could be spookier than that? Though I will admit it's a shame that you have to go this year without a costume, or getting candy, or listening to your favorite scary paranormal podcast on Para X Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Para X.
That was remarkably the thing where it's really certain of details, Fluffy.
Don't worry about it. Or Halloween, for that matter. You just go in the house and get the shovel. And if you start thinking about a costume, I'm sure we can make something out of the crap we find on our next supply run.
Okay, buddy. I'll go get the shovel.
Yes, and this will be the scariest and best Halloween you have ever known. And once I'm done, I will use my popularity to take over this dead world and finally bring social justice to the poor masses who have lingered.
Still here, Fluffy?
Oh, fuck me. Just get inside. Your stories will be on soon.
Oh, right. My stories. Today we're going to find out if Junebug Dinkelson is having triplets after her sultry and forbidden affair with Dr. Tungsten Overbite III, or whether the babies were implanted in her after she got taken up in that UFO.
You know, I don't want to ruin your show, but you realize that we don't have cable anymore, right? Or power, or running water, or, well, anything, really.
Well, sure, but it was awful writing anyway. I can't really tell the difference.
Alrighty then, will you just run along and play, Pete? I'll be in shortly.
Joy, 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 joy.
Oh, I can finally get back to work and have some peace and quiet. I think I'll hum a bit while I clean up this mess. I just hope one of the zombies hasn't slipped through our defenses and is now slowly stalking me in preparation to rip apart my neck with its broken teeth and gnaw on my gizzard. Oh well.
Little did Fluffy know, even after that oddly specific diatribe, which no one could have heard, that indeed one of the members of the incipient Walking Dead was at that moment finding its way through their defences, and was about to pounce on dear Fluffy as he picked out bits of the dead from their trap. Behind him, the soil of his mother's rose garden, now filled with dead and desiccated bushes, began to subside, parting way from the force of a tunnelling creature in its quest for food.
I sure hope something isn't trying to tunnel its way through my clever defenses. Impossible. Outrageous. I should just go back to humming. This is tedious work. Oh, but I got something to make it go a little smoother.
Having ignored the obvious signs of invasion through subterranean means, Fluffy recalled he had a special treat saved in his jacket pocket. Still oblivious to the digging threat, he took out a thin joint that he had forgotten about, lit it, and chilled out. It dulled his senses, making him more vulnerable to attack.
Oh, this is dulling my senses and making me more vulnerable to attack. But hey, those are the sacrifices we make for love.
The ground behind Fluffy opened up, and a creature pushed through, eyeing up Fluffy in the hopes of finding a meal. It crept slowly towards Fluffy, ready to take a bit out of him as he puffed like a smokestack.
Oh, wait. It's just a groundhog. Little bastard bit me. Come here, you little runt. Stay out of my mom's rose bushes. Whew. I'm just glad it wasn't a zombie.
And at that very moment, a little zombie boy fell from the sky as the bunch of helium balloons tied to his limbs finally lost their helium, dropping the undead monster child on their porch.
Why the hell are there still so many flying up there? Could it have been from the recent balloon convention at the Oaks Expo Center? No matter. I can't fight it off! It's gonna eat me!
Unable to fend off the zombie balloon boy, Fluffy gives in to his fate of becoming a member of the Walking Dead and inhaled his last miasma to ease the pain. He exhaled the lungful of smoke at the zombie boy, and to his surprise, the thing stopped attacking. A glaze came over the zombie eyes as the creature became docile, sleepy.
Holy Mary Jane, mother of stoners! It's high! Downers can still get high? It's just standing there. Okay, kid. I've always wanted to be an old man just so I could say this. Get the hell off my lawn!
The zombie balloon boy responded to Fluffy's orders and walked away, and was decapitated by the spinning axe trap.
Fluffy, I heard a skirmish. Did you just have a mortal battle with another flying zombie?
Yeah. Thanks for saving me.
Oh, I'm your hero. Oh, that smells like good shit. Can I have some from your private stash, maybe?
No, sir. Don't you touch my stash. Some of that Ray Charles magic piano kush I got before the world went to hell. So good you'll go blind, my dealer promised me. So you'll just have to wait until the crop grows. And I measure it. So if I find anything missing from my stash, I'm going to tell you some spoilers about your soap opera.
No. Fine, I'll be a good boy.
Good. Now are you making breakfast? Remember, that's the deal. I clean the traps today, and you make some breakfast. We'd have to use those eggs before they go bad. You know, I'm just glad zombie chickens still lay eggs.
Okay, Fluffy. But still feeling really down about Halloween. I just wish I could, trick or treat again, just once. I never knew last year would be the last time.
Oh, don't you fret, my unsuspecting roommate. For now, I have a devious plan that will eventually lead to Halloween, holiday, domination, and you will never know it's coming. I shall rule the holiday and be king of candy corn!
I'm still here, Fluffy. Again.
Okay. Let's just go watch your stories.
Out of sight, girlfriend! Fluffy and Pete survived the zombie apocalypse. We'll be right back on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on ParaX Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. and all major podcast services, unless it's a zombie apocalypse. Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror Paranormal Show Friday nights at 9 p.m. on ParaX Radio and at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com.
What Are You Afraid Of on ParaX?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction.
We are ready to scare you.
ParaX.
Caliburn Press, LLC is a Madison, Wisconsin-based publishing company owned and operated by Alan Ledden. Caliburn works with talented writers, artists, editors, and marketers throughout the United States, and you can find their books through their many imprints that include Damnation Books, Eternal Press, Malaferia Press, Ciento Sordida Publishing, and Spiro Publishing. Please visit their website at sites.google.com/site/Caliburn Press LLC/home, or Google Caliburn Press to check out their growing list of titles on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and any other place fine books are sold.
We now return to Fluffy and Pete survive the zombie apocalypse on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show.
Fluffy and Pete spent the day doing their chores and trying not to get on each other's nerves. In the afternoon, Fluffy gathered some of his special stash, gathered up some acorns, old cereal marshmallows, and the last candy bar known to humankind that he'd been saving. He then climbed up on the roof and used a ladder to cross to a neighbour's house, making preparations for his Halloween surprise for his best friend. When he was finally ready and night had fallen, he came back to get his mate, Pete.
Hey, buddy. I know you've been down about Halloween. I wanted to cheer you up. It's Halloween tonight, and it's time to go trick-or-treating!
What now? Wait, what's going on?
Pete? Did you, are you stoned?
What? No. Oh, man. Stoned? No, I'm just gonna go put on my costume for this year. I can't. Yippee dingleberries. I'm so excited.
Wait, that's your costume? All of the things in the world you could have been, and you go as a zombie. I see enough damn zombies every day.
How could I not? Look at this blood stain. This is actual zombie blood. This is the most realistic zombie costume ever.
Whatever. Just don't try to eat my brains, or my special brownies, or my ass.
What was that last one?
My brownies?
What?
And so Fluffy led Pete up to the roof, and together they climbed the ladder over to their neighbour's house. They kept quiet as the street had filled with zombies since the incident with the balloon boy. The neighbour's house was festively decorated. Fluffy had painted a basketball, like a jack-o'-lantern, and put up cheap paper decorations of vampires and ghosts that he'd found in his attic.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Should I knock on the door?
Hold on. Let me light up first. I found out a secret today. Pot chills out the Zimbos. You're gonna love this. You can actually train the living dead to do simple tasks when they're stoned. So all we have to do is blow smoke when they open the door, and we'll trick-or-treat this whole neighborhood, just like you wanted. Just let me get the joint lit. That's the important part.
Fluffy, good old fluff and nutter sandwiches. Did you just get that weed from your stash tonight?
Yeah, it's no problem. There's still plenty left. Okay, you ready? Say trick-or-treat!
Fluffy opened the front door, urging Pete to get his sack ready to receive treats. Pete hesitated and looked to Fluffy with a face like he was holding in bad diarrhea. The zombie, Mrs. Dinkins, their old neighbour, came to the door carrying a bowl of old cereal marshmallows and the last known candy bar on Earth. Fluffy smiled in anticipation of his friend's happiness.
Fluffy, I have something to tell you. Now, don't be mad, but I maybe kinda stole some of your stash and smoked it today.
No you didn't. I measured it. There was plenty of herb in the bag.
Yeah, about that. It is technically herb. It's mostly, well, as the British would say, oregano. I kinda switched it.
Pete, you simpleton. You dunce! You cacophonous buffoon! How did you even know where my stash was? I moved it out of my bowling shoe in the closet after the last time this happened.
Yeah, into the other bowling shoe. You just moved it back and forth.
Oh, wait, but that means Mrs. Dinkins is going to eat us!
Mrs. Dinkins dropped the bowl of treats and lunged after the boys, chomping at the air with her dentures and clawing. They both screamed and ran into the street and into the embrace of the mob of downers. Fluffy carried the joint of burning oregano, giving the autumn air a nice hint of spice.
Well, this looks like the end, old friend.
Sure does, my chum. Shall we go out as we planned to?
Dance party, death party? Already getting out my phone. Whew. Well, at least I get to die with my buddy while owning the dance floor.
Wait, they're not eating us. In fact, it looks like they're dancing too. It must be the oregano mixed with the pot. Who knew it would have had such a crazy and an incredulous, the thing where it's not believable effect? We can wait until they're really grooving it up and then, get away. Run, Fluffy! Phew. Oh, it was close. It feels good to be safely back inside in the house where we live, though I never really got to trick-or-treat.
Well, whose fault is that, Pete? You could've, if you hadn't stolen my stash. I swear I'll never talk to you again.
Fine by me. You never let me have any fun. I hate you.
Hi, boys.
Hi, God.
I decided to pop upstairs and see what all the commotion was. I was getting a bit bored being down in the basement all the time. You see, when the apocalypse happened, I, your supreme being and creator of all things, decided to come to Earth as was foretold. Of course, due to an administrative oversight, damn that St. Peter, the zombie apocalypse had already happened, and all the people were gone. So I moved into their basement to spend some time thinking, and came upstairs at the end of their misadventure to spread some paternal advice. They were good lads, just a bit silly sometimes. So, what's all the bother, lads? You two fighting again?
Well, I tried to help Pete go trick-or-treating, and then he stole my secret stash and replaced it with oregano, as the British apparently say, and we were nearly eaten by the Zimbabweans. I shouldn't have even tried.
Me too. I don't want to think about Halloween again.
Oh, that's too bad, boys. Pete, you don't want to be mad at your friend Fluffy? He tried very hard to give you a fun Halloween experience. But did you really need to trick or treat? You're grown up now. You can still enjoy Halloween, but it's your turn to give out the candy. And you can read a scary book, like that incredible horror thriller out from the author T. Fox Dunham, Mercy, available at Amazon. Well, at least it was before the apocalypse. You can also watch scary films and visit a haunted house. As we grow older, we find new ways to enjoy our traditions and holidays, while letting the kiddies have their fun.
You're right, God, you're right.
And Fluffy, you should share with your friend. He's the only friend you've got. Things are most enjoyed when they're enjoyed with a mate, and I'm sure Pete appreciates that you tried tonight.
Yeah, God, I get it. Thank you.
Now, shall we have a little Halloween fun? Say trick or treat.
Trick or treat!
And with a snap of my fingers, candy rains from the ceiling.
Oh, you crazy. Hot damn in a dump truck.
Well, until next time on Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. A zombie apocalypse is a terrible thing, unless you're surviving it with your bestest mate. Even though corpses try to eat your thighs, at least you and your buddy can still get high. Fluffy and Pete survive the zombie apocalypse. Fluffy and Pete think they made it through. Fluffy and Pete survived the zombie apocalypse. We've only got their word for it, let's hope that it's true.
On What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show, we've had the pleasure to talk to new and veteran authors, artists, filmmakers, and musicians. Something we've learned, that is, it can be a challenge for a filmmaker to cross fields into, say, becoming a musician, or an author becoming an artist. Part of the mission of the show is to give support to people creating nascent projects and looking to get their vision out there. As part of that mission, tonight I'm interviewing a talented spirit who has a successful career with NBC Universal, but who's releasing a comic book series called The Empties, and from the sound of it, the story and art will leave you without an appetite. Kristen Renee Gorlitz graduated with honors from Grand Valley State University with a BA in narrative film. During college, she interned under Rebecca Green, the producer of It Follows, at TikTok Studios. After graduating, she went on to work in the art department on such films as 30 Minutes or Less, Virginia, The Steam Experiment, and Offspring. With this experience, Kristen moved to Los Angeles, where she formed her own production company, Strange Worlds Production Studios. Currently, Kristen is an assistant manager in TV distribution at NBC Universal. In her spare time, she writes movies and comic books. Her story, The Empties, is an official selection of the Global Independent Film Awards and the Independent Horror Movie Awards. Wonderful. Hello, Kristen. How are you this evening?
Hi, Fox. Good to be here. I'm doing well.
I'm looking you up. I'm doing my usual show research. I'm seeing a lot of credits on things like IMDb. Your name's popping up all over Google. I mean, you're working at NBC Universal. Just the name strikes fears in the heart of artists everywhere. You've got your own production company, and so your background. How did you get where you are now?
Oh, I have to go back a little bit, I guess, if you want the origin story of how I got to where I am today. I am a artist from West Michigan, and actually The Empties is inspired from the many horrible winters I suffered there. I am currently out in Los Angeles, but definitely appreciated growing up in West Michigan. I had a love for film at an early age, but I really got obsessive about it in 1999 when The Matrix was released. That movie changed my life. I watched that movie every week for a year. I read every single book that was that had inspired the movie, you know, Alice in Wonderland, Simulacra and Simulation. I read the philosophy behind it. I read the comic books that had inspired them. I was hardcore in Matrix land. So that kind of got me started on, hey, filmmaking is what I love to do. So I went to film school out in West Michigan, then worked in production in the art department for a couple of years after I graduated college. I got a little lucky because Michigan had passed tax incentives right when I graduated in 2008. So we were kind of the hot spot for movie making. So a lot of productions came into town. I got to work with a lot of talented people while I was there. And then things kind of slowed down, and I decided that Los Angeles was the place for me to pursue a career in filmmaking. So I did move out here in the end of 2011, and I have been working on my own small projects since I moved out here, working at various different companies and different parts of the film industry. There are so many different areas that go into making a movie, from development of a story idea to pre-production, where you put all the pieces together. Production is where you actually film the project. Post-production is where you edit the film, and then there's marketing and distribution. So I went through those different cycles after working in production. I worked in post-production, and now I'm currently in the kind of final stage, which is distribution, where, you know, we sell a film. So that's where I'm at now at NBC Universal, and my main passion throughout all this is telling stories. So that's where I work on comic books and screenplays.
That's incredible. You've definitely made it to a place that I know a lot of creative people are desperate to get to. And as you were saying, it's not just a matter of talent and education. It's also sometimes being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a lot of talented people that should be movie directors, and that moment never comes. And of course,
I know.
Yeah, I'm sure you have lots of friends who are in the same situation and you do in the creative field. It is very competitive out there.
Yeah, it's very competitive. It can be discouraging when you don't see yourself making progress. You can never really compare yourself to another person's progress, and that is one of the pitfalls of this wild, crazy industry, is saying, oh, I haven't reached this level of success yet, but you're really fighting against yourself and figuring out your best way to tell your story or your path. So definitely been in that place.
That's remarkably insightful, and something that a lot of people take a long time to learn. And of course, I wrestle with the same. I guess what Churchill called his black dogs barking is that we are all very insecure inside, and no matter how successful we are, there's always that next level. You know what I mean? There's always...
Yeah, but I like that. I like the anxiety. I think when you lose that anxiety, like, you're complacent with where you're at, that's when you kind of lose it as an artist. I feel like you always have to be uncomfortable and be like, oh, I'm never going to make it. I'm a failure. I can't get to that next level. That's how you do it. You need that push. Otherwise, you're doing things over and over and over again. And if you're just happy with the same way you're doing it, it gets boring. It gets old. It kind of dies.
Right, and one of the other pitfalls that I find a lot are when people create the illusion of greater success and convince themselves that if they keep doing the same thing over and over again at the same place, that eventually it'll take off. Or authors who think if they put out, they find a way to publish 200 stories, that eventually the accumulation will win them the race, and it's just not like that at all.
Absolutely not.
Or they let themselves be talked into selling their book right away to the first publisher who comes along, or the first agent. It's like, no, you got to hold out.
You got to find the right partner for a project. Working with people is really a main part of the business, and finding the right person, the right publisher, the right investor even is necessary, or you can tank your career early on. So, I mean, I haven't succeeded in my overall dream yet, which is to turn this story, The Empties, into a feature film, but I have released my first book of a 6-book series for a comic book for this story. You know, I feel like that is one step for progress in this very, very long, complicated puzzle of turning a idea into a movie. So I just love the whole game, the whole challenge.
And it really is, like I tell a lot of people, especially people beginning in the industry, what we do is a matter of faith. You have to have faith in it.
You do. And you're like a crazy person. You're wandering out there and you're like, I have an idea, guys. I have this really good idea. Eventually, you'll all know what a great idea it is. But so many times people will just look at this story and be like, no, that's not good. And you'll be like, no, it will be good. I promise you, it'll get there. You'll like it one day. But it takes so long to turn it in from something that was just a maybe cool idea to a decent script to then a very polished script to then the movie. If it gets to that stage, and you have to convince a lot of people that your idea is actually worth putting money into. That's the hard part.
Lloyd Kaufman, Trauma Entertainment.
Oh yeah, I love Trauma.
I've been on the show a few times. I met with the show, and he was actually talking about several companies who do that now. They help independent film companies get the equipment, get the filming equipment, get props, find a setting, and even cover the insurance angle from it. It's an interesting field for indie filmmakers now. And as this, of course, we've got, I had another friend of mine who acted as an attorney on the script and was helping me negotiate the deal, and he was talking about how you have the tent pole of Hollywood. They do like the trilogies, and then you have the indie field, and the indie field is becoming a fecund, called an industry now, especially with streaming services like Netflix and Hulu and all these other streaming services becoming prominent and looking to fill their drawers with material from the major companies and, of course, all these private independent companies. So how do you think the streaming services have changed the industry?
Streaming services have been a major disruption in the industry. I mean, people are buying less movies on DVD. People are going to the movie theaters less. People are streaming their content online. So you can be more likely to be successful if your movie's on Netflix than if you have a large theatrical release these days. That is like a complete game changer for the industry. It's kind of like a gold rush for content right now. So every company is, one, trying to have a platform where they offer some kind of streaming service. Two, every platform is looking to compete with the high quality content that HBO, Netflix, and Hulu are creating. So this is creating a lot more opportunities for people to work in television, especially because it's a lot easier to hook some viewer with a show than it is for a movie. Just based on the material, you get to have a longer time investment with a television show. So yeah, every single company there is now on the hunt for the next great content. I also think it's been a game changer in the quality of the productions. I know everyone complains about Hollywood right now, and they have a reason to. We're kind of sick of sequels and reboots and that kind of thing. But when you look at the creative content that's being created just for streaming services like Netflix, you're going to see a higher level of quality, especially on the television front. But then with movies, they're looking for absolute quality pictures. So I think there are, some pretty cool opportunities. It's still not easy to get in, but it's changed the way we watch things.
It sounds liberating,
Yeah.
When a loving chef comes home to an unfaithful wife, he cooks up a revenge plan so twisted, so disturbed, it will leave you in pieces. And that's the Empties. That's your comic book series. Now, where did this come from? It sounds like cannibalism. It's got some great tropes in it, some great themes like revenge, hurt, heartbreak, turned into cuisine. And this is the Empties.
You got it.
What is the Empties?
Well, I wanted to come up with a zombie story that I liked. I have historically not been a fan of the zombie genre, and that's basically because zombies are dead, right? They haven't changed in a while. That's the point. They're dead. But that just means that those things as characters aren't actually the characters of the story. The main characters have to be humans in all of the zombie stories that we see. So I wanted to put this zombie story into something that we're all familiar with, and that is a relationship that has gone wrong. It's gone wrong. We as humans will fall in love with someone, but then we don't even think about what we're doing to them, what our actions are. So I took this kind of painful past of different relationships and channeled that into this story that is the Empties. And my main character, Derek, as you read our log line, he comes home and finds out that his wife has been unfaithful. And this is just devastating to him because she is what he's working so hard for. He's a very obsessive chef, and he is very loving, but in a way that he hasn't shown his wife. And he's losing her, but he would do anything to keep her. And we find out shortly on, so this is no spoiler, that there is a sickness going around that is causing people to turn into cannibals and basically lose their minds. Their brains are rotting. So someone is going to get sick in the Empties. Someone is going to fight to keep that person alive. And things get very twisted with the complicated relationship there. So that's the Empties in a nutshell.
If you want to find out more information about Kristen and her work, go over to our website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com, where you can find information, expanded content, links, photographs of all of our content and our episodes, plus our catalog of ghost stories, all narrated by our voice actors, including the British folk singer David Walton. I know is a popular favorite of many of our listeners, and he's just wonderful. David's great. And you can find information about Kristen at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com and information about the Empties and her future projects. So how can our fans help? Where can they get the book? Can they help you launch it, help you get it out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I love hearing from people. You can go to emptiescomics.com. There is a preview of the book. You can purchase it there. You can sign up for my newsletter, which is the great way to stay in contact with me. And of course, if you like the story, please tell your friends, post it on social media, that kind of thing. But I would really encourage signing up for my newsletter if you want to see how I actually create this comic with my artist Eli. And I do give away a free cool movie every week. So there's that bonus. It's pretty fun.
A free cool movie. Oh my word. Okay, yeah. Fans of What Are You Afraid Of, you gotta go sign up at our newsletter because you're gonna get a cool free movie, and we'll have links up for that at our website again at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com, and that'll be incredible. Sounds like you've made it pretty far. There are always new levels to get to, but what advice would you give to yourself when you were just getting started, when you had nothing but inspiration, hope, and dreams? Knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself then?
I wish I had known how much movies cost, and that there are lower cost art forms that really help you grow a fan base and get you into movies. Because I started off with the big dream of jumping right into movies. Now, a low budget movie is going to cost around $1 million, and everyone kind of knows that. And you know you can make a movie for less than $1 million, like a small sum of $100,000, that kind of thing. It all gets kind of blurry when you're thinking of numbers that you don't have any access to. So young me was trying to just make a ton of movies. I used to make a short film every 5 weeks with my friends. I used to, make movies, put them on the web. They're not so good. Some are, some aren't. But I would try to make things that were way outside of my budget range as well. I definitely think this is helpful, but you shouldn't count on that for launching your career in film. I think there are better ways to really hone your craft in terms of storytelling and visual mediums. Like, I wish I had known about comic books a little bit earlier on, because this is such a great way to spend money efficiently in terms of like really crafting your story and visualizing it. To put everything down on a page is an amazing process. My script is like 100 times better than it was before I started trying to do it in comic books, because I've just had to simplify things for the page. There can't be an abundance of dialogue. There can't be things that aren't action, or there has to be some kind of excitement on a page. You're not going to have two people talking. So it can really tighten up a screenplay, and it costs a lot less than making a movie. Writing books, if I had really seen that as an option, I feel like it is a great way to get a story done so that people have something that you can actually invest in. And I really think that the movie industry no longer takes as many risks. So when you have a lower cost art form executed excellently, you can really prove your talent. And podcasts have been optioned and made into movies. These don't cost nearly as much to make as it does to make a movie, but you can tell a really great story with something that doesn't cost as much. So I would tell myself to do that, kind of focus on a lower cost medium and be the best at it, and use that to try to get investment.
So it's not just about creating the art for you, it's also about the marketing investment side of it too.
You have to prove to others that you are talented and worth investing in. So you have to really know all areas of your craft, including the business side of things. And I guess earlier on, I really only focused on the art and the craft of filmmaking. A lot of people do, and ignore that there is a whole business that goes into this, that movies aren't made just to entertain, they're made to make money. So if you actually want to be a director or producer, you really need to get in on the business side of things too.
You have to prove your talent so others will invest in you. That's what I'm taking away from this interview, and that's quite insightful, and I think that'll be very helpful to those who seriously want to make a go of this, as opposed to those who just want to sort of enjoy the dream. And there is a difference, I find, between that. And the people who really want to make a go of it learn how to suffer, and they can fall to the deepest pits of disappointment and have their heart ripped out, and then jump back up and go do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's been incredible talking to you, Kristen. We can find your website at www.emptiescomics.com. She's at Twitter at Kristen Gorlitz and Instagram at Empties Comics. And again, we'll have information up about Kristen, a little profile, some pictures, links to her sites and channels at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com. And remember, you can find us on ParaX Radio at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Friday nights, and also on all major download services, including iHeartRadio, Google Play, iTunes. If we're not on the service, it ain't worth downloading. That's our motto. Well, thank you so much, Kristen. It's been wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Fox. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Kristen Gorlitz, for coming on the show. And it looks like a wonderful series, The Empties. I can't wait to see it. Her Kickstarter campaign is going on right now. Of course, today's date, for everybody listening in the next 10 years, however long we survive, it's November 8, 2018, just to let you know. So her Kickstarter will probably be done in a few weeks. But right now, you can jump over there and donate a little money to get this thing off the ground and get some cool little perks. Just go over to Kickstarter, type in The Empties or The Empties, a horror comic book series about relationships, and check it out. And we'll have links for that up at the website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com. Well, this has been episode 102, Fluffy and Pete Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. We're working on some future scripts for new episodes of Fluffy and Pete coming up, and hopefully you'll be hearing that soon. Some wonderful content coming up at the end of 2018 and 2019. For Thanksgiving, we're planning an episode based on the Jersey Devil for those of you on the East Coast. It's an incredible myth going back to colonial America. And we've also got Steve LaChance scheduled to come on the show to talk about his new book, A Confrontation with Evil, about that demonic possession that inspired the movie The Exorcist. And it's just going to be incredible talking to Steve. We also have horror author Amy Gretsch coming on, and we've got a short story from her in an interview, and also an interview up at the website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com, and we'll be featuring a Noir Alley with noir segments with authors such as Tom Pitts, an old friend from San Francisco, and Paul Brazil, as we profile indie authors on What Are You Afraid of on Paranormal Show. Well, thank you so much for listening to episode 102, and we'll be back next week and a couple times before Yule, and then in January we've got some wonderful guests coming up. And if you love horror, you love a dark magazine, stay with us for ghost stories, interviews with paranormal investigators, horror authors, comedy sketches, and wonderful banter about all things dark and spooky. We don't march to anyone's drum. We are ourselves. This is T. Fox Dunham. Check out the website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com, and we'll see you on episode 103.
Hi, I'm David Walton, and I drop whatever I'm doing to read whatever Fox and Phil demand of me. My digital, as opposed to ectoplasmic alter ego, is called Brendan Shawland, who regularly plays guitar and sings in a virtual world. Brendan has a website, David doesn't. Bandcamp sales figures would suggest that Brendan's music is decidedly niche. If you want to be in the vanguard of support as Brendan heads towards global domination, just put Brendan Shawland in your favourite search engine, and you'll find his website very close to the top. You'll see what the human looks like, and you can check out the Listen to a Song page to access Brendan's unwillingly private world of creative output.
All right, here we go. Quiet. Roll up.
Hello everyone, I'm Andrew Willis, the host of Movies Now and Then. We're a podcast that looks at one new release film in theaters, then we compare and contrast it with a classic or underappreciated film from cinema history. We're not a traditional movie show in that we try to have a more conversational approach to our discussion. We want our listeners to be informed, engaged, and hopefully even entertained. If this sounds like something you might enjoy, give us a listen. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere podcasts are found by searching Movies Now and Then.
First Light, a novel by Kody Boye. This excerpt is read by David Walton. Their frantic footfalls along the sidewalk did little to drown out the dying man's screams, or the pitched cries the undead made because of it. Breaths ragged, chests heaving, they tore down the road parallel to the chain-link fence that separated High Street from the dock, in a desperate attempt to free themselves from the madness. The mass of bodies swarming from the opposite direction gave them little choice as to where they could go. Forced by proxy into the rat run that sloped down, not once, but twice, they threw themselves onto the path, just in time for the first of the corpses to slam into the fence above them. "Lyra!" Rose screamed. "Look out!" Having stumbled into the fence, her friend had little time to react before a shredded hand lashed through the links and took hold of her hair. "Fuck!" Lyra cried. "Fuck!" Rose reared the bat back and slammed it against the links. Bone crunched beneath the weight of her thrust, but did nothing to deter the mad creature from releasing its hold on her friend. She thrust again. More bone exploded. She knew the howl that followed came from rage, not pain. The creature who'd previously been concentrated on the businessman were making their way towards them. Shit. Sweat broke out along her palms and threatened to send the bat from her grasp. Lyra tore the pepper spray from the pack and managed to thrust it behind her before releasing a spray into the throng of bodies. The concoction did nothing. Their minds were gone. Abandon reigned supreme. Flinging the bat behind her shoulder, Rose braced herself to throw the most powerful swing at the creature that she could manage. a gunshot went off. Already mangled from a day of violence, the creature's head exploded as the bullet entered its skull. "Run!" someone screamed. Rose didn't bother to question as she grabbed Lyra and flung her friend down the incline. The first creature that came forward, she struck directly in the head with an over-the-shoulder swing, denting its head in to the point where any normal person would have surely have been dead. "Rose!" Lyra called. The second she bashed in the face. The third she clobbered over the head. "Come on!" A second, then third gunshot sounded, and Rose took off after her friend. Her hands were flecked with blood, and her shirt soggy from the resulting spray as she chased Lyra down the last ramp. At the bottom, Lyra braced herself alongside the gate and began to slam it into place before Rose had even cleared the threshold. She jumped. Her frail frame whipped through the space. No sooner had her feet landed on solid ground than the gate slammed into the weight of the three creatures. "Get the chain," Lyra cried. "Get the fucking chain!" Rose lashed out and grabbed the massive link, before swinging it through the loop normally reserved for the padlock. Lyra held steady despite the rampant assault. Slick with blood and sweat, Rose's fingers struggled to form some semblance of a knot. "Come on!" the same voice from before cried. "Hurry!" The moment Rose managed something resembling a knot, Lyra broke free and tore towards the docks. The monsters screamed. The fence trembled under the weight of not one, not two, but 3 dozen creatures. The sight was almost too much to believe. All those bodies, all those people, bloodied, injured, dead. Rose took off after her friend. It was then she saw the source of their salvation. Poised atop an impressive yacht, upon which stood what had to be at least a dozen people, was a lone rifleman, whose only focus was on the carnage threatening to break free behind them. Kody Boye is a horror, dark fantasy and science fiction writer currently residing in the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas. Since his original publication of A Prom Queen's Revenge at the age of 14, he has gone on to author multiple works, most recently the When They Came trilogy and The Beautiful Ones. You can visit him online at www.kodyboye.com, and that's spelt Kodybye.
I have this really good idea. Eventually, you'll all know what a great idea it is.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard, and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the next Stargate anthology from MGM and Fandemonium Books, Points of Origin. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into feature films False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target. as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand. His short films can be viewed on his YouTube channel, Film Zero Presents. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, Game Skinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com. His first novel, The Poe Predicament, is being published in 2018 by Caliburn Press.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.